I'm delighted to be joined by Sean Bruce from the Piano Technicians Guild. Sean, why don't you tell us about the Piano Technicians Guild and what they offer to the world?
Well, I think that's pretty it's complicated, but it's an easy story. Essentially, what we are, we're an organization of about 3,500 piano technicians all around the world, basically mostly US and Canada, but it's literally everyone from a person you're going to have come service a piano in your house to the guys that, work for Steinway, Yamaha, design pianos, rebuild pianos. It's just sort of a place where the technical knowledge about pianos kind of lives. We really focus on a couple different areas. We obviously, our members are our biggest focus, and we do a lot of technical education, a lot of ongoing programs with since pandemic, with videos and online sort of stuff and everything. We also we do in-person seminars, which we're still hoping to do this summer. And mostly that's kind of our focus. The biggest thing too that we do is we do what's called the Registered Piano Technician Program. And you'll see those letters sometimes when you see an RPT. What that means is they've gone through and they've all the people that have that designation have passed a series of 3 pretty rigorous exams that we do in-house. And not all of our members have the RPT designation. A lot of them are working for it. About half of our members carry the RPT designation. It's an intense program, but it goes back to the foundations of PTG, because there's really no regulation regarding piano tuners or piano technology. You or I could pretty much claim to be a piano tuner tomorrow. And what we try to do is establish sort of a standard that, piano consumers, the industry can expect a certain level of service and quality, that basically people kind of know what they're doing.
Right.
So that's primarily what we do. We also kind of go through, though, we also reach out. We're always interested in expanding the knowledge of pianos. We reach out a lot within the piano teaching community. We have a lot of resources on our webpage at ptg.org, where we go through and just stuff to explain how pianos work. Piano players, for the most part, probably know less about their instruments than any other musician.
I think so.
Yeah. And so what we kind of do is we try to clear that mystery up a little bit and explain, it's a lot more than tuning. You get into regulation, you get into things like voicing. Right. And, if you need to know what any of these terms mean, I'll promote the website again. We can kind of go through and explain a little bit, but all things that can really kind of help you find, turn the piano even more into an object of desirability and joy. That's really what we're about.
I find that I taught for 30 years, and knowing technically how the piano works is such a great asset to playing.
Exactly.
It's a huge asset. And so to have those resources on the website are fantastic. The pandemic, it's been a crazy year, 2020. Hard to believe last year I met you at the trade show. That was January. And
no idea what was going down the pipe. I know.
Crazy. During the pandemic, what has the PTG done with regards to resources and set out guidelines from that?
Well, the first thing we did, obviously, we wanted to go through at the beginning of the pandemic, when we were really first starting to get a grasp on things. We wanted to go through and make sure people knew how to take care of their pianos without damaging their pianos. And so we put together some basic disinfecting guides for pianos on how to do stuff safely,
right,
and make sure that you weren't damaging the finish or really damaging the keys, because sometimes it's fairly easy to do. And we were really lucky with NAM using some of our materials, the Music Teachers National Association. We were really able to kind of get that word out quickly, and it was really gratifying to see a lot of people who followed up with more questions for us and stuff and everything. And we really did. The other thing, we really went through and focused on our members, taking care of them. Not only in terms of moving a lot of our education stuff, those sorts of things online, but we also went through and really kind of helped guide them through all the red tape of applying for any government aid they might be eligible for,
Mm-hmm.
any of those kinds of things, just trying to clear that process up and stuff. We also went through and it was kind of a weird, it's obviously it's a weird situation because it's so geographically based. And we had some technicians who were completely shut down. We had some technicians who were continuing to work. So we went through and established some protocols so
Right.
that piano technicians could share those with their clients on what, hey, we'd love to come service your piano. Here's what's safe. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you can do for us to make sure. Basically just a little bit more than making sure you've got all the family photos off the piano
Yeah, totally.
before you.
Yeah. And
So,
it is a two-way street that way, because the technicians coming into the home, and
mhm,
they need to actually be responsible for their own actions, and the family. There's still measures of masking, social distancing, antiseptic wipes, that kind
absolutely,
of thing. There's
yeah,
there's lots that can be done on both sides, and
and that's
so
it.
it's good to have that education for both the consumer as well as the technician.
And that really is what it's about, that it's all part of the process. And the pandemic was just kind of extension of, okay, so we already educate you on your piano, so now we're going to educate you on what we're going to do in the pandemic to keep you safe, to keep us safe, and give you something to do while you're trapped at home with the kids.
Mhm.
So
Speaking of being trapped at home, my ear to the ground is that the business is booming, because um, people are quarantined a lot of times, or they're at home, and so they've renewed and kindled this interest, this love, and this passion for the piano.
you
Have you found that
know
as well?
very much so. Obviously, we talk to a lot of retailers, a lot of manufacturers and stuff, and all of them have really, I think, been pleasantly surprised at
Hmm.
what's happening in the industry. A lot of our guys, even in terms of where like in-home sales, or I'm sorry, in-home service may not be as robust as it once was. A lot of our guys do like rebuild pianos, do that sort of stuff. That market is just absolutely booming this
Right,
world too.
right.
And it's interesting, Glenn. We'd kind of seen uh, right before the pandemic hit in 2019, maybe the last 6 months of 2019, we had really started to see a demand for technicians
Hmm.
that was a lot greater than what I had seen in the time present, or at any time before that. And I think I've been
Right.
doing this 20 years now, and it was it's kind of, we're kind of watching it. So like, hey, what's going on here? And then of course the pandemic hit and
Right.
everything sort of slowed down for a while. But the last month or two, I'm getting a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails. I was like, hey, I need to find a tech. And, sometimes it's universities, sometimes it's retailers, dealers. And, there's kind of a shortage out there
Hmm.
of qualified technicians to do stuff. And, there's a lot of reasons for it and everything. But we kind of went through and, since we didn't have a convention to plan for last year, we've gone through and we don't provide basic piano education.
Right.
We will certainly help you, but we don't have like, hey, come to be a piano technician in 6 months. We don't do anything like that. It's not who we are. But what we can do is, and what we've started to do, is like, hey, we've got an obligation to the industry, and we've got an obligation to consumers to go through and try and identify some people who might have an interest in a career in doing piano technology for a living.
Hmm.
And so we developed, and hopefully it's going to go live next week. We're still kind of working out some technical details and stuff, but our webpage is going to, and I'll do the shameless promotion again, the www.ptg.org, but our website is going to have a feature on it called Becoming the Tech. And
That's
what
great.
we've done, yeah, what we've done is we've kind of put together an overview, just a real kind of like, okay, here's a video on what it takes, what your skills, what it's like to be a piano technician. Here's what you would need if you have an interest. And then if they decide to go a little farther, we'll set them up with some additional videos, and we'll have stuff on there about choosing an education path. Because there are some programs out there. There's some correspondence schools. There's a residence program or two. There's some informal, there's formal, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, there's no one way to become a piano technician.
Right.
But what we will do is we'll kind of narrow it down and say, hey, here's some options. Here's what you need to be looking for. Here's some guidelines and stuff. And then we're going to go through and we're going to teach, we've got other videos on how we'll teach you how to put a toolkit together, just a good solid beginner toolkit without a whole lot of investment. And we've got one on finding a mentor, because that's
Nice.
really crucial in this industry, is finding someone to help guide you a little bit and do that. And it'll take a while, but I think it'll be ongoing, and I think I think we're really optimistic that we can bring some people into it. It's just when we were talking yesterday, we talked about a door closes and the window opens, or vice versa, or something like that. And I think that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
With this pandemic is obviously we've learned a lot of different ways of doing things.
Well, and the other thing that we talked about yesterday on the phone was the fact that the piano technician average age is getting up there. A lot of my friends are 60s, 70s, and the next generation's not up and coming. And what you're telling us is that there's a demand, there's job opportunities, and very cool opportunities to be actually working with artists, teachers, with students. And I don't know of a greater joy than to bring music to a home or household or institution. I think it's a fabulous and noble cause. And so if the jobs are there.
Absolutely, Glenn. And I don't think any of us that are involved in this, and you and I have been around a while, we know the community, and there's no one involved in this community who doesn't feel something for the piano and for the art and for the the people who play it and stuff. It really is. It's a calling.
Right.
And I think some people will find, maybe it's a calling for them as well too. And we'll keep doing this.
That's great. Sean, I wanted to thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely.
One more shameless plug for PTG.org. They set the benchmark for Piano Technician Guild and for the piano technicians. And I want to thank you for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope we get to see each other in some time.
Well, hopefully NAMM 2022, but we'll see.
Yes, exactly.
Have a good one, Sean.
You too.
Thanks.